Republican Senator Rand Paul of Kentucky. Senator Paul, thank you for joining us. And I want to start with what the president said, fine-tuned machine over this first month. Is that what you're seeing?
Well, you know, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. And from where I sit, we've done a lot of good things. You know, we repealed regulations for the first time in 20 years using the Congressional Review Act. 3 regulations that were going to cost the economy hundreds of millions of dollars and tens of thousands of jobs. That is big progress. We're on schedule to repeal Obamacare. Big progress. His cabinet picks, from a conservative point of view, have exceeded my expectations. I think Scott Pruitt's going to be great at EPA. I think we're really going to do some conservative things. Supreme Court Justice, somebody I could have picked. So I'm actually very, very pleased with where we are.
What would you make of McCain's statement that we're creeping towards a situation where people are potentially supportive of dictatorship in this country? Is that over the top, or is there a concern?
I think Senator McCain's perspective is colored by his disagreements with President Trump on foreign policy. If I were to look at foreign policy, I would say John McCain's been wrong on just about everything over the last 4 decades. He advocated for the Iraq War, which I think destabilized the Middle East. If you look at the map, there's probably at least 6 different countries where John McCain has advocated for having U.S. boots on the ground. John McCain's complaint is we're either not at war somewhere, or if we're at war, we leave too soon. So we're not there soon enough, and he wants us to stay forever wherever we send troops. So that's a foreign policy that is at odds with President Trump. And also the idea of engagement, the idea of foreign policy realism, I think fits more neatly with President Trump. And with John McCain, the neoconservative label of let's make the world safe for democracy and we're going to topple every regime hasn't worked. I mean, our intervention to destabilize the Assad regime has really made the chaos worse in Syria. And if you were to get rid of Assad today, I would actually worry about the 2 million Christians that are protected by Assad. So I think it's more a foreign policy debate, and Trump and McCain are on opposite sides of that debate. And I tend to sympathize more with the president that we need a change. We don't need to continue to have a regime change throughout the world, nation building. It's expensive, and we don't have enough money to rebuild our own country if we're rebuilding everyone else's countries.
But just to clarify, what McCain said specifically is dictators get started by limiting freedom of the press. I imagine you agree with that.
Well, the thing is I don't agree with his analysis and applying that to the president. I haven't seen any legislation coming forward that wants to limit the press. I see President Trump expressing his opinion rather forceful in his own, his own distinct way. But I see no evidence that anybody's putting forward any kind of legislation to limit the press.
Okay.
So I think people, this is colored by John McCain's disagreement with President Trump. It all is. Everything that he says about the president is colored by his own personal dispute he's got running with President Trump. And it should be taken with a grain of salt, because John McCain's the guy that's advocated for war everywhere. He would bankrupt the nation. And actually, we're very lucky John McCain's not in charge, because I think we'd be in perpetual war.
This obviously does not require confirmation, but would you have concerns about John Bolton as National Security Advisor?
Yeah, I think the problem with John Bolton is he disagrees with President Trump's foreign policy. He would be closer to John McCain's foreign policy. John Bolton still believes the Iraq War was a good idea. He still believes that regime change is a good idea. He still believes that nation building is a good idea. So, no, I think John Bolton would be much closer to McCain than Trump. And I think that his history of sort of acting on his own, my fear is that secret wars would be developing around the globe. And so, no, I think he'd be a bad choice.